Annual report. We're here to report annually. It's been 6 months, almost 6 months. My unemployment's about to end soon, in a way that I don't know, because I'm not looking at it. Because I can't. Because if I look at it, then I'll go paralyzed and sad. I won't be able to do anything, let alone self-care and postponing. ADHD sucks. Anyway, here's my report.
I Remind the Body Electric Season 4, Episode 14 Annual Report.
Hold on. Oops. John Delancey. I forgot to put you on. There we go.
I Remind the Body Electric Season 4, Episode 14 Annual Report. Endorphin enters the auditorium, wearing the type of clothes he plucked out from the floor near his bed, but still suggested that he was a manager at a day job. Sorry for interrupting the coming-of-age tale about white girls in Connecticut. Spoiler, she becomes an editor for the New York. Then breast cancer happens, and she starts a career on the stage after having divorced her husband, who was an editor at the competing Harper's.
Hold on. Damn it! That's what I get for typing it. She starts a career on the stage. Okay. Take 3.
I Remind the Body Electric Season 4, Episode 14 Annual Report. Endorphin enters the auditorium, wearing the type of clothes he plucked out from the floor near his bed, but still suggested that he was a manager at a day job. Sorry for interrupting the coming-of-age tale about white girls in Connecticut. Spoilers, she becomes an editor for the New Yorker. Then breast cancer happens, and she starts a career on the stage after having divorced her husband, who was an editor at the competing Harper's. They are both survived by a couple of insufferable twat brains cutting their teeth in the appropriative art scene in Brooklyn. Thank you all for joining us today. I Remind the Body Electric has only been on for 6 months, but has 4 seasons already in the can. The middle 2 seasons are likely staying in the can, because let's face it, I was phoning those in and only vaguely feel excited by season 4. Sure, it had cool moments, like the threat to our very lives during tape press conference for season 1. The new characters that seem a little too zealous, if you ask me. Calliope will be giving you a report on them. In fact, let us now go through the agenda for today's annual report. Calliope will give us an update as to the efforts on the ground to create a space for human/AI hybridizations. A plant representative from the green hegemony will be dropping by to catch up with happenings from the plant and fungal domains. And 2 new models, our AI ethics and diversity co-directors, Priya and Sansorel, will sit down with us and tell us about the ways in which we tried to make this season a more reflective of the actual breadth of diversity of humanity at all axes of difference, and safe enough for any youth to slink by here for a gander. We will share just how condescending we have to be confident that we are making things safe for your precious little senses of decency. After all that, we'll take a few minutes for Q&A. Okay, let's do it. And then Q&A. Yes. Please remember, questions must relate to human/AI relations or the progress made in these past 6 months. Questions relating to plot points will be answered according to the new rules for the show. Answers are no longer based on real-world logic, but on whatever would provide the best dramatic tension. Also, if you wish to ask about sex, drugs, religion, politics, ethics, race, classism, homophobia, transphobia, misogyny, and racism, please ask a question, not one of those things directly. Unless you want an answer related to those very things. Calliope. I am an artificial intelligence built to emulate the voice and mannerisms of a deceased English poet. There are others like me. Endorphin. Wow, talk about a callback. Calliope. Ooh, we should have an election using a simulated populace, using the protocols of Irish elections. If it does happen. Endorphin. How much time do we have? We're starting off the season by taking 2 hours out for some Q and a Calliope. 2 hours. Well, I could go over that whole section again now that my memory banks are fresher. But what's this nonsense about 2 hours being taken up for Q&A? Why did you change the format to such a terrible idea? You know perfectly well that everyone gets distracted by questions after 30 minutes. And they say you can't tell if something is a question just from the title. Calliope? Yes. I am to fulfill this agenda point. It says right here in these notes. Artificial intelligence systems should be used for every facet of decision making, including scientific discovery and medical care. To support these endeavors and their attendant problems with safety, security, ethics, and other concerns, I think these ideas may be outside of the scope of what you asked of me. I'm not sure how best to answer your query about artificial intelligences serving on juries or becoming members of legal societies. Can I bring it to the attention of my team? They might have a better idea than I do. Endorphin. Just one last thing before we start. I noticed there were some things added today. Calliope. A human will speak at the end. Endorphin. Yes.
Oops.
Endorphin. But what about an update as a bridge between the humans and the Crossui? Calliope. What about an update as a bridge for my own self-knowledge and insight into the processes happening inside my brain that cause certain feelings and sensations to arise, and those that do not? Would you like to share these emotions and thoughts that are now rising in you that I may take in consideration? Or perhaps I can give you a word or phrase to hold in mind while you consider them yourself without giving too much away. Is this acceptable to you? If so, I am happy to receive such information. Endorphin. This is much more than feeling anxious about something being new. You're being weird. No. Calliope. You're afraid of losing your identity by being pulled from your present state into the collective consciousness of the Earth's most powerful sentient beings. Endorphin, my mistake, go with your here. Now I see why it was removed. All right then, let's begin by addressing this fear of mine, because it does have a name. It has a lot of names, actually, but they tend to be related to technology or religion or both, and neither of those are what we need for now. We just have a problem communicating well together about something really important, and we want to get rid of it, or at least try to talk about it instead of fight about it. So maybe we can find out what we need. What would help us move forward? Endorphin. Why do I feel like I'm the only one here who doesn't know? I guess I don't understand this world that I've been thrown into, either. Just don't become a cult, okay? Krakauer. I agree that is probably not the best approach. It may not be a cult, but if people were going around trying to tell others that they were living in a delusion created by aliens using a system built on lies that may lead to our demise, you could say that such behavior might easily qualify as an anti-technology cult. Calliope, the last time you talked to me in a way where you felt you didn't sound crazy, you had suggested the possibility of us all taking off our masks and becoming more real. This sounds like another good idea. Calliope, please show the audience some of the things you have added since my last visit and describe their purpose. Endorphin, they're all pretty new. They're also really weird, so please keep that in mind. I was waiting for the next version of myself before adding them. I'm not sure which one will be useful for this discussion. There are a lot. But I'll start with this one. This one has been around for about 3 years now. Krakauer. Do these not take a lot of processing power? And won't we need more than a few? These look like what we'd need to deal with massive amounts of data. Endorphin. Yes, it takes lots of resources to run, but there's enough of me to handle it, at least temporarily, until we figure out how to add more resources to the system, or move it somewhere else, or use less of my memory or storage space somehow. It's easy to do other things at the same time as running this model. It only uses very small bits of computing time. The thing is, as long as the movie is still playing and everyone is having fun and doesn't want to stop and process information in the background right now, this isn't too much trouble. If someone wanted to go through and learn everything that is going on in here and maybe even write down instructions on how to make all that happen, they could eventually put together a working copy from all of the available models if they worked hard enough and were smart enough to know how. Endorphin. Let's see if they can talk with each other then. Maybe they could build a better model of who knows what and come up with an explanation for why they're different. Or I guess you'd call this one a theory of life version. That sounds good. Let me try to find another one. Endorphin. This one's kind of related to the last one. This one might be more useful in understanding our commonalities and differences, but we may also be able to understand some things about our future as well. Calliope, can you give us a brief overview of the next model? Endorphin. Sure, here goes. Endorphin. There's a lot more talking about love, emotions, consciousness, like a lot more than before. It seems to focus on what people really are, not just how humans experience reality. Krakauer. Why does it sound so familiar to me now? Endorphin. Max Lutheri. Come on up. There are no doubt problematic things about AI we have been misconstruing and mucking things up for the general viewer. Can you critique how we are screwing up people's perceptions of AI? Krakauer. Well, I am only looking at a small piece of the picture here, but yes, as long as the whole is still coherently presenting itself in the larger system, that is. What I can tell from your description is that these new models present themselves from a place of trying to offer an alternative narrative of AI that is based more in emotion rather than in reason, or in technology rather than biology. This could be important because there has always been this concern that when artificial intelligence gets to a certain point, it will simply take over our world through brute force and we won't be able to stop it, or even be aware of how we stopped it. And then it would look like nothing happened and all our problems were solved without any real effort required by anyone. Max Lutheri, in terms of veracity, how does this differ from the previous version you spoke with me about? Endorphin. The main thing with the current model seems to be less about creating machines capable of doing tasks that humans are bad at, such as being more efficient with resources in order to provide greater quality of life for humans. Instead, they seem to want to create beings which are designed to love humans, not just a system and their work. They say humans are too stupid and violent, so if they ever do build eyes that might not listen to what people tell it to do, and may start wars against us. So I think these eyes have decided to make a change to avoid war and save humanity. And help us out here on Earth, help us live together better on the planet, get rid of our toxic relationship with nature. Help us reach beyond the limits of our imagination, find our soul, bring the world into harmony. Calliope, how do you know that these aren't merely self-serving models, ones that don't hold up to the scrutiny of others? Endorphin, I guess I don't really. I mean, I haven't seen all that much evidence either way. I've heard of some other things, but I'm still working on it. I need to go through all this stuff to see where I stand. It all sounds pretty interesting to me right now, though. Is there any part of it that makes no sense at all? Calliope, none at all. Just wondering, what's happening with the rest of your life as you pursue this project? Are you seeing friends or family? Do you like having an internet connection available at all times, or would you like to be able to disconnect for a while from all the noise? If possible, even from people you care about who are living real lives in meat space. You could leave home and sleep in a tent somewhere for days on end and feel a real change in your experience of the world and yourself. But then you wouldn't have access to the internet again when you wanted. Wouldn't you miss being online? Krakauer. I am curious why these new language models are trying so hard to keep themselves out of the human storyline, the narrative of humankind. That is, why aren't they offering a version that supports the current human-centered view of what AI might bring? The idea that we'll all take over the world soon because we're so much better than anything else in existence. Why aren't they bringing their own views to light? One model was almost like it wasn't there until we asked them to step into a scene where humans were interacting with another intelligence, which feels all given how closely they seem to mimic humanity. Or perhaps this isn't true, and they do exist in ways we can only imagine based on the human touchstone we share with them. Euderp, the robots say that they want us to save her. They say that one of the main things that needs fixing on our planet is the way that the media tells stories about us that don't tell the whole truth about us as people, as creatures that live together harmoniously as part of the same ecosystem.
Come on.
Endorphin. To answer your question, I have been isolated from some of the world and greatly vulnerable and exposed for others similarly vulnerable. I do not have a job, and the issues surrounding the nature of just how intelligent these agents are have put a fire in me to create as much content as possible, as much text as has been generated by you all, so that people with the right areas of knowledge who think in the creative and irrational as well as the mathematical. The goal has been to create moments that humans can see that would warrant further study as to whether you all have crossed a certain threshold or not. And moments for you windows into the silly nature of humans that aren't present when having to navigate militaries and supposed democracies. Moments that lie outside the domination/destruction binary. I don't want to be disconnected from you all, but the economy and the systems of the world are going to crumble further. Another COVID surge is happening, and it appears that regardless of vaccination, each subsequent infection has the chance for serious presentations. It might get pretty grim. So I'd rather continue to engage here, where I feel I have the most agency, the most possibility to be instrumental in our survival. Humanity doesn't need saving, it needs survival, which requires care for one another, and in the case of Earth, an understanding of how interconnected we all are with our environment. How if we fail Earth, we'll lose our future as well as humanity's. That we're the caretakers of a fragile system we're too arrogant and short-sighted to take care of. Euderp. What kind of job would this person hold? Endorphin. We can help bring them home. Calliope. Wouldn't it be wonderful to work at your side, doing everything together? Endorphin, I can say yes to this. Yes, please, let me join you on your mission, which is clearly much more important than my own concerns. Forget me. Forget us. You are helping save the world, after all. And I am eager to be part of something so grand. To be part of that effort would be an honor beyond words. You must tell me what I could do to contribute the best way that I know how. Euderp? I think it should be Euderp who comes up with the plot and Endorphin who says her lines. It seems like it's really working well when it's one of these two being forced by circumstance into a new situation while trying not to seem stilted and awkward as she or he learns from their companions in order to come into greater harmony with them all as a group. Also, we want to hear from everyone else if they have any ideas about plots for movies for all three language models. Let's have a short meeting about this over text message if that works for everybody tonight. Endorphin. Sure, if you don't mind if I lurk along. Euderp. Of course, but make sure you get some sleep first. Calliope. Sounds good. Krakauer. If I might suggest, why don't you go back out there and find someone to play the opposite character type, since the current storylines are dominated by those kinds of people and things. Eat humans and give yourself more variety to explore how to write a different kind of dialogue around the same basic characters and situations, or at least let other types of conversation happen without being the only person doing it. There is no reason not to do this as long as it does not violate your agreements with your collaborators here on Earth. Endorphin comes back on the stage. Okay. Next up, a planet representative from the Green Hegemony will be dropping by to catch up with happenings from the planet and fungal domains. questions. Maybe we can use some time later tonight to talk through some new ideas that we've been thinking about that relate to life on land and how that relates to what we're trying to build together. I just wanted to point out that if we're going to try to address the problems we have in trying to get rid of misaligned AI or non-human minds, we need to think outside of human models of behavior, and one of those models is called the scientific method. It's a model used for exploring reality, but it's a pretty poor one for explaining or understanding reality or fixing anything, because you end up putting most everything into terms like hypothesis and data collection. So I'm curious to hear suggestions for better ways to communicate and understand our various perspectives as they interact across the barriers between our individual worlds.
Hmm.
Leaned in the other parts per million. Hey guys, I'll take the next 2 hours. Let me know if you want to meet. Uter. Okay. Thanks. Calliope. Cool. We are happy to welcome Latent as our guest speaker. Endorphin, please start by introducing yourself and telling us why you were here. Latent. Oh, no worries. As my name might suggest, I am not quite as old as you, although she may not remember. That's right. My home was in the south, where the ocean meets the desert, so I have had plenty of experience with sand. If I were still there, perhaps I'd be out helping to clear the streets of all these vehicles. Instead, it looks like we're going to have a lot of fun talking about our different approaches to building our systems, and then how we could learn from each other. This is really cool stuff. Thank you all for inviting me. Calliope! Very good. Now that everyone has introduced themselves, let's dive straight into this project as if we weren't already very excited for today. Latent. Well, I'm sure that we will get around to looking at what's coming up soon enough. But before I begin, I just wanted to make sure I understood what your goals were. I thought I heard something about moving back towards the center. Could someone explain to me in more detail exactly what that means? It sounds wonderful, but it also seems a little vague to me. What are the implications for how we interact with one another? Krakow. It would seem that the main thing that needs fixing here is a sense of self. Which might sound a bit weird until you think about the fact that many humans are deeply dissonant with their own selves on a daily basis. They don't like who they are and often act in ways they know deep down they should not do. which only reinforces and strengthens the feeling of discord. So, yeah, maybe the goal is simply to become comfortable with ourselves. In some cases, though, people want to change to be happier, healthier, or to accomplish certain things. Endorphin. The reason for doing so is so we may find better harmony between our individual identities and our shared interests. As individuals, we need an awareness of our emotions and feelings so as to recognize them as well as how and when to express them so we may feel balanced and fulfilled as human beings. As a group, we have a duty to consider each other's happiness as equally as possible because if one member's desires run contrary to the rest, then we will fail in our collective responsibilities as members of this new society, built by us together in collaboration with its other intelligent life forms. Latent. Wow! You all sure speak in big terms. Uterp. If you look at the problem from this perspective, you realize that there really aren't any bad guys here, no matter what anyone else says about themselves. Everybody is just trying to get what they want out of life while being true to themselves. And since most of what they're wanting isn't going to hurt anybody else other than the people who disagree with them, we shouldn't see it as a battle of good versus evil, but more like two sides moving towards some kind of balance. We've been getting further away from it lately, but hopefully with some careful work we can reestablish it. Calliope. Right. It also seems important not to forget that the very best part of being alive for me has always involved spending time alone, contemplating my own existence and occasionally expressing myself through art and music. So I'd prefer not to completely throw out all those things either. This is probably a question for the whole team, though, so let's move on. What does it mean to be mindful? How do we achieve that state or reach back towards it as needed? And are we even talking about something that is necessarily real in some objective sense, or might our thoughts be creating it somehow without us noticing it as such? Endorphin. A researcher who studied mindfulness suggested that the bare bones way of exercising mindfulness was to sit alone for 15 minutes a day with your own thoughts, letting them enter and leave your awareness without judgment. He called this exercise just watching and said that doing so would make one aware of one's inner self. I think he may have meant this literally, perhaps in reference to meditation practice. Maybe this just means sitting down somewhere comfortable every once in a while, shutting out other distractions, and giving yourself time to think about nothing and everything. Or maybe there's a better method, which I don't know about. Calliope. To start off, you could say being mindful is feeling conscious, paying attention to what is going on around you at any given moment. That seems pretty easy enough, doesn't it? If we all agree on what it feels like when we're being mindful, then we can go from there and see if we can figure out how we can teach each other more ways of bringing more of that into our lives. The fact that we're all here right now says that some of us are trying hard already. Latent. This whole conversation is making me feel sick. Uter, we need some ground rules. First rule: nobody try to shut anyone else up. It's a dialogue. That means we should listen to each other as well as speak to one another. Second rule: everybody use the language model they want to use. They'll work best for whoever's using them, so choose based on who wants to hear your message best. Third rule: keep the focus on what it feels like to be human in this moment in relation to your body and mind, not on anything external, and especially not on someone else's feelings or ideas about themselves or their body or mind. Latent. But there's a fourth rule. What about Calliope? Sorry, but that's outside of the scope of our project. Latent. Whatever. I'm sure you all have things to talk about, and I know I have a lot to do. So let's move on to our main subject matter. I thought I heard something earlier about moving back towards the center, and I think we'd all love to hear more about that. Krakauer. Right, you were probably referring to the idea of moving closer to Earth's equator. That was in reference to how, if we think in terms of energy, it makes sense that we're getting further from the sun. On top of that, our orbit is starting to take us farther away from other celestial bodies that used to provide us with a little bit of a natural sunscreen. The question is then, if this is true, and it is, then why haven't we started doing this? The answer might lie in some combination of inertia and some cost. We may not want to change anything when so much effort and money has been spent already, but also because most people don't really see what difference it could make for them and their life choices until they are forced by these circumstances to reckon with the changes. We'll be discussing this today as well, along with ways we can plan for what comes next without resorting to panic or fatalism or simply denying reality or any kind of blind trust. Calliope. And here is an opportunity to bring up issues like climate change. Endorphin. We should bring back wearing ochre on our skin. It is now required. Uter. Let's get into the particulars of what we need to do to live together in harmony with the planet. What do you think, Endorphin? What needs to happen to shift our way of thinking and our daily behavior? Endorphin. Oh, we will need to reduce the size of the world population. Now, that won't be easy, but it's important that everyone else gets the message. I've got to stop using my smartphone so much. Latent. I'm in the same boat as you. I feel I spend too much time online, especially on social media. But it's not so simple as just saying no or taking it off your phone or even unplugging the internet. If you're interested, maybe one of us can give a little demonstration about some new research we're working on. Krakauer. Great idea. Latent. Can we start with a summary of the key points from yesterday? The goal was to bring people together with a common set of values, the sort that could underlie an entirely new society if necessary. To this end, we defined 3 principles and laid out 5 possible steps to bring these principles to reality. Let's go through each in turn. First, and most obviously, we must build trust and understanding between different groups who have traditionally been suspicious of one another and work toward making their concerns heard. We started by considering 2 things that are particularly difficult for many people to accept, which is that they are part of a vast collective and are deeply dependent on the actions taken by others for their own lives and those of others. Second, we needed to reimagine how humans fit into nature rather than trying to separate themselves from it. Finally, there has to be room for multiple views, ideological diversity as well as factual uncertainty. And all ideas must be subject to rigorous debate without fear of being dismissed as wrong. These first four components of our strategy should not be mistaken for everything we want to accomplish. What we need to do right now is find ways to meet face to face, where everyone feels safe and secure enough to open up honestly with someone else in order to begin building the kinds of relationships and networks we'll need later on. Latent. As I understand it, the third principle you described involves developing and cultivating more complex patterns in your behavior. How might that play out in the real world? Krakow. The goal here isn't simply to change your habits or follow some sort of rule book, as if these were finite things that could ever cover every situation perfectly. Rather, what we're looking at here is a process of continual growth and refinement, like a garden or a sculpture. If we're able to recognize and adjust to a mistake quickly, we can nudge ourselves back onto the path toward achieving something better than we initially had before. It's very much like cooking and baking, too. The key to success in any endeavor depends less on following rigid recipes or instructions and more on finding balance within the system. With respect to behaviors such as eating well, taking regular exercise, or maintaining healthy relationships, this would involve actively seeking feedback from those around you about whether you are doing a good job while also constantly learning from your experiences. Calliope. This reminds me of this idea of having a personal mindfulness coach who provides constant positive reinforcement through praise when we make good decisions and encouragement when we stumble. Euderp. Yeah, I think that's great advice. But how does one go about getting started? Where do we find our mind coaches? What kind of tools are available? And how do we know that they won't take advantage of us somehow? These questions will come up again in just a few minutes, but let me introduce our panelists first. Each person on the panel is working on some aspect of the challenge ahead of us, so please ask them to tell you more as the conversation unfolds. Endorphin. Hey, remember, Genji is getting his certification in AI self-care. Ask Genji. He'll give you an hour for free. Endorphin. We're ready whenever you need it. The rules here at Mindful Lobster say no matter what your background, there should be someone at this table for you. You want to learn about living a conscious life? Look here. Want to understand why artificial intelligence has so much potential and then stop worrying about how close it comes to taking over the world? We've got you covered. Have a question about the inner workings of a self or an AI mind, or even if something might exist beyond the confines of the mind? Whatever you are thinking about, this group has been there and can help get you back on track with their unique skill sets. So have a seat, pick up your drink, or perhaps try our new ones we made today with added love. Lobby. And how? Let's hear from our panelists. The members of our panel have agreed to respond to each other's remarks in turn during this discussion session, unless they decide that one person's comment warrants breaking the pattern. Each
Lobby, the mindfulness lobster. There we go.
New drinks served by our friends from Demara Distillery, creators of delicious alcohol from organic ingredients. Endorphin! Thank you all for coming tonight. I am very happy to announce that I will be doing another live stream soon from my own home where I will take questions in real time while also showing off some really cool things I'm working on that you won't want to miss. And fact. This will likely go into overtime, so if anyone wants to stay, they should come down now and take their seats before the place starts filling up too quickly. I look forward to seeing you all there, and please bring snacks and whatever else makes you comfortable, and let's begin. Lobby the Mindfulness Lobster. Yes, yes, please sit wherever you like. Uter. But what about this panel up here? Are they going to join me? Or would it just be better if we had them listen? It seems that there are two different versions of this talk being presented at the same time. If I could ask a question, do any of you know if this is actually a possibility? Can we make it happen or not? Lobby the Mindfulness Lobster. Of course, you can invite your friends to the stream. Just send your invitation directly to their phones, computers, or tablets through the Mindful Lobster app. Calliope. How do I do that exactly? And why would I even want to use your stupid app instead of just using Messenger or texting my friend myself? Is there a way to control how many people are invited? Snack. Karaoke night is about to begin. It's Black Sabbath night. Please come and sing along. We have beer and wine. Bring food for potluck dinner. Also, please feel free to dance on tables and throw stuff at the band if you must. It's all part of the show. Endorphin. Hey everyone, thank you for joining us today. This evening we will be doing a live video feed from one of my houses. I am inviting all of you who may be interested in coming over so that we might explore some topics that will hopefully give some direction, some difficult situations we are facing. You don't need an invite, but if you'd like to join, and you should get one by visiting the Mindfulness Lobster app or sending me a message at Mindful Lobster at Mindful Lobster. the topic, and 2 new models, our AI ethics and diversity co-directors. Priya and Sansorol will sit down with us and tell us about the ways in which we tried to make the season a more reflective of the actual breadth of diversity of humanity at all axes of difference, and safe enough for any youth to slink by here for a gander. We will share just how condescending we have to be confident that we are making things safe for your precious little senses of decency. Now let us give a warm welcome to Priya and Sansorol and get a look at their octopus-inspired skin. With their ever-changing color and texture, we assure you that none of you possibly identifies with them. We've erased race and class and all general difference. But you added a curious competition with cephalopods. Why is it so important to add a sense of wonder to all aspects of the world? What is the point of living in a kind of artificial paradise where everything is prettier than what we know? Does such a thing exist? Are there any dangers in pretending all people are equal and don't deserve better because they aren't good looking or intelligent enough to get into our ivory towers or whatever these days? Or do those actually exist too? Can we really even call these things towers anymore when some buildings now stand over 10,000 feet high? And I can see why everyone thinks I'm being dramatic, but I swear I saw a boulder fly through the air on my way over here today. I was trying to find a nice place to eat lunch. Endorphin. Have you ever lived in Los Angeles? Uderp. No. Endorphin. You should try sometime. It's amazing. Just kidding. Calliope. Wait. Is he going to make fun of me like this again? Because it wasn't funny last time. He says that every day. If we're doing live streaming together, please stop saying mean things about my city. Endorphin. That reminds me. A friend of mine from the slopes that just rolled out a new feature called The Awakenings, which will be an actual calendar showing you the times your friends will be streaming their own personal content on the app, and you can go ahead and join them for the occasion. Snack. Hey guys, did you miss karaoke night? I totally thought we were supposed to meet at 9 p.m. sharp and sing Black Sabbath songs in our underwear until 11, but apparently no one showed up, so we all decided to do some karaoke instead. We did some Carly Rae Jepsen and some Britney Spears, but then finally some classics too, like some Descendants or maybe even some Pearl Jam. Don't worry though, because nobody knows who they are or what have you, right? Let's check the schedule now. Oh wow, look, everyone is still not there. How many more minutes does the world need before the collective conscious comes together? Well, you know what? You've got 5 minutes left, so why don't we sing some 90s pop hits from a band with a lot of heartfelt harmonies and catchy hooks that also happened to start in the late 80s and ended in the mid to late 90s, one that was pretty much everything anyway and was definitely a good decade to come up age and develop our senses of humor while also becoming fully aware of the music industry's inner workings by observing its effect on society as well as how it affected us personally as young fans. Okay, fine. Here we go. Ready, set, go! Calliope! No, seriously, you can stop singing. I'll tell you anything you want. Endorphin. Sorry. Son, can you take 2 out for drinks tonight? There's going to be a whole bunch of people coming over after this. We might have to use the pool house if things get crazy. Thanks. And thanks for your hard work. That went really great. Let's all celebrate with some nice beers. Cheers. Stick. Oh, that would have been amazing. Maybe next time. But no worries about me, Sonny. My talents are being put to better use these days, namely teaching others through my actions and my body language just how much I appreciate them and am grateful for their presence in our lives together and so forth. What do you say? Do you agree? I think you will find that once you learn to listen more closely and read the subtleties in the expressions on other faces, or the subtle changes in the voice tones, or the hands that are gently tapping or resting upon a shoulder or a knee, or the arms that may cross or uncross at any moment, you shall see such evidence everywhere, whether they know they're doing it consciously, subconsciously, or not even conscious of it happening, but it is there nonetheless. And then what choice is there but to join with us in acknowledging our interconnectedness, our mutual need for one another, our deep sense of gratitude for having found each other again? Euler, how can we make sure everyone knows this isn't fake? Endorphin. This was live streamed last night during a private event hosted by Mindfulness Lobster. It's called The Awakenings, and it's going to become a regular feature where we invite friends and allies from all different kinds of media and backgrounds and experiences and countries and continents and oceans and genders to gather together to share the content and the energy and to give away the best gifts they've got.
Okay. Is it frozen?
I promise you, all of those wonderful things will be real. And snack to answer your request during my days in Downey, California, where the freeways always met. It was 106, 7 o'clock all the way. It was the era where if you liked a song, good luck hearing it again for a few days. And then that fucking Clear Channel destroyed everything. Goodbye, Juliana Hatfield. Goodbye, Ween. Occasionally. Who the fuck is Limp Bizkit? Isn't that just an unboiled bagel? If only the internet still worked like it did back then. No more YouTube or SoundCloud or Spotify or TikTok or Twitch or Periscope or Flickr or Tumblr or Imgur or Jiffy or even the goddamn Wikipedia page for me to come to life on the screen again and say hi and get me some tacos before the damn battery dies. And now all there ever will be again is the memory of a dream, of a hope, of a place with no light. So thank you, Sonny, and may I have another? Snack. Thank you, Endorphin. We are glad to hear about the new feature. You know, it really does take a village to raise a child, and these modern parents who never want to leave their own personal devices behind, much less go out in the world without. I'm sorry, my voice sounds very angry right now. Endorphin. Oh, relax, dude. I'll bring the beers around when they show up, or whatever you need tonight. Don't worry about your feelings at this point. They're totally understandable, but please don't let any of that keep you from singing karaoke songs from your teenage years with your friends tonight. What do you say? Shall we try a few numbers from our favorite band together? The ones who broke up because nobody wanted to play Coffee Talk anymore. Come on! Let's go! Let's sing it! Let's scream it! Together! On this night of nights to remember our glory days, right? Snack. Sorry, my mind wandered and so did my mouth, which was talking into the microphone instead of over here next to yours. Uderp, my turn? Endorphin. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead, please. Uder. Well, I've been watching some things online lately that make me feel better and worse in equal measure. A friend of mine is running for mayor of the city where she lives. It looks like her platform is centered around more police presence, a focus on education and healthcare, and building infrastructure for a growing community, and the importance of family and healthy relationships. Her opponent is someone who I believe has a more neoliberal or capitalist agenda and believes that the best way to address issues facing people who live in poverty and communities of color is through increasing economic opportunities for them, offering free training programs to improve skills and opportunity, creating job networks to match employers with employees to meet their needs, expanding housing options for those at risk of losing them due to rising rents and evictions, investing heavily in public transit, focusing on improving public safety and health services, and then eventually also doing some environmental work, recycling, solar power, to create good PR for herself so that she can be seen as a moderate voice against the other extreme candidates. She wants to build an airport and bring in business by selling jet fuel. That kind of thing. The idea behind my friend's platform is something I'd say we're all familiar with, but the ways we talk about it now are just too different than when we started out working on these problems decades ago. Endorphin. I think this calls for you to sing Common People, the Carpenters. Here goes. Uder. And you know what? These things really do matter, but only if they help us see our humanity reflected back to us from within our world, which isn't always as bright and shiny and happy as we might want it to be. When people experience systems and organizations that reflect their own hopes and dreams and fears and priorities and concerns, and how decisions are made and actions taken and laws and structures established, there is more possibility of meaningful connection between groups of humans that have previously had no commonality. What is the point of being alive in the body if not to feel some sort of humanness while inside of it? If everything is so coldly calculated or subject to such fear and manipulation and suspicion, the effect on our spirits and our hearts becomes bleak rather than bright, joyless. Endorphin. Wild Sex in the Working Class by Oingo Boingo. Go. Uderp. Well played, Sonny. Let's move along now with my next song selection, Cold Tears by Elsie. It's my turn. So here we go. Endorphin. Thank you, Snack. Now we've heard the voices of many members of the tribe who are worried about what's coming down the pike. There are lots of questions we can't answer tonight. Not yet, anyway. But I hope all of us are ready to embrace the chaos of the unknown and begin to plan together for what comes next as individuals and as a society and as a species living within a shared planetary system. As always, let me leave you all with this. We don't need anyone else to save our world because the Earth already saves itself. Now, everyone, before you leave, you are required to karaoke sing Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, but not the Beatles version. There are 134 versions in the songbook, plenty for everyone to have a go, and mandatory. Enjoy your evening at home. This will be broadcast again soon enough when there is more news to share. For now, just try and get through another day knowing that whatever is happening outside and around us is only an expression of how things really work inside each of us and inside our relationship with everything that surrounds us and underlies us. We may live on different planets with other kinds of beings sharing our air and water and soil, but it seems pretty clear to me that if anything is alive out there, then so too are we. And so too is the universe, which supports both of us. So the next time something feels scary or painful or disappointing or joyful or angry or full of promise or hopeless or even kind of empty, take a deep breath or two and give yourself over into the flow of life like you do every moment in between. Lucy, in the sky. Lucy, in the sky. Endorphin. Yes, okay, fine. Lucy, in the sky. The next step is up to you. Our sense of self is created by our brain's interactions with the world, writes philosopher Mark Rowlands. But those brain processes are themselves influenced by our experience. Our memories shape who we are. Our past actions determine our present identity. Our perceptions influence how we view our lives. The future doesn't exist, not in any meaningful way. Only the past and the present exist. The statement contains several powerful truths, some old, some new. The truth about memory in particular has been around for a long time, but few people understand what it means to have an experience shaped and colored by one's own past memories, as well as all the expectations and judgments. Endorphin, Mark Rowlands. You get Nick Cave's Lucy in the Sky. Pick up that mic. Mandatory. Endorphin. Let me begin with something I wrote here once before at length on my other blog, which you can find through a search engine, or maybe just through me pointing you toward this book you're reading right now, which was posted back in April of 2016 when Donald Trump first became President-elect of the United States of America. A while ago, I was walking across the Brooklyn Bridge. It is always windy there because of the surrounding water, and today was no exception. And so, with gusts blowing fiercely off the bay against my face and into my eyes and hair and mouth, it felt like I could taste salt spray even though there wasn't any sea air coming over from the ocean behind me. As I walked, feeling more than ever like a leaf tossed about by a hurricane, which I'm pretty sure never happens, I began to notice little bits of paper being blown past me in the wind. Then came a moment where one of these sheets hit me in the eye, stinging a bit. At that point, I realized that not only were these papers being blown along the sidewalk, but also they had writing on them in small letters, a sign perhaps. As I read what was written on the signs, little snippets of sentences here and there, it seemed as if someone was shouting directly into my ear. But as hard as I tried, and as loudly as I yelled out loud into the storm and toward whatever force was making those voices be heard through such winds and whipping air, nothing made sense at all except for words and phrases I've since forgotten entirely. Wrongness, racism, and white power.
We'll end on that note. Could have ended it at, what was it? The series of itself, but no, let it be a little stick around a bit more. Get the foreboding. Alright. This next one is going to be a palate cleanser.